Voices from the Mausoleum is brought to you by the You Run Podcast Network and yourunpodcast.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to Angel's first episode of 2024. I took a break, and it is showing. It is so showing. I'm having such a hard time getting back into a groove. But we talked about, when Steve and I did the update before, we talked about video game adaptations was also going to be, we didn't do a December episode. We're going to come back in the new year. Well, the major ones that we have left that we really, really want to cover, it's going to take us some time to prepare for. And so in lieu of that, for just a little bit, probably a few months, I think we've got a few months worth of things to talk about. We're going to do another mini series with Voleur called Horror Games in Real Life, where Kat does crazy things, puts her life at risk to prove if some of these horror games, if anything actually happens when we do them. And so this is going to be just an introductory episode. We're going to go through a couple of them. She's going to talk about what she did, what they are, what they entail, and all of that kind of stuff. And we're going to start with this at 5. It's 5 of them this time, right? 1, 2, 3.
I think
4.
there's 6. I think I added a 6th.
There's 6. That's right. Yeah. And so of the 6, I've only heard of 2. So I'm very interested in the other ones. But so we're going to do horror games in real life for a couple months, and then we'll jump back into video game adaptations. We've had some time to kind of regroup and get ready to talk about the big ones. I'm like so excited about this.
So big.
yeah. No, they are. It's true. And especially one in particular has like so many spin-off things, and it's a lot. So we need some time to kind of wrap our brains around all of that and somehow make them not 6-hour episodes.
We're going to have to break them up somehow.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is I was like, well, it won't be that bad because we'll break them up and then we'll only have to like replay like sections at a time. But then it was like, I might need to rewatch/replay before we figure out how to break them up, because it's just such a mess.
Yeah. And then I think, I think with the main big one, obviously, I think Resident Evil is going to be the biggest to try to break up and talk about. I think Silent Hill is going to be a little bit as well, but Silent Hill doesn't have as much content as Resident Evil, so it's going to be a lot, but it'll be fine.
We'll get there. It'll be okay. But I'm also very excited about this.
This
is like a fun way to do a break.
Yeah, and when you told me you had done so many of these, I was like, you are insane. I'm like, I don't even walk through my house without all my lights on. Like I've never done like the mirror one. I've never done any of them. Never. I've never even touched a Ouija board. Like, I know it's not quite the same thing as some of the stuff we're going to be talking about, but like, nope. No, like.
So preface for this, I didn't play these games for the show. This was just a thing that I used to do, that we got to talking about. Like, but the thing is I have retired from them. I will say, when I was like brainstorming throughout the week, because I knew we were going to be recording our first episode of this, there was, this is so dumb, but out of all of the things I've never done, it occurred to me today, I've never played Candyman. And I was like, there's part of my brain where it's like, that'd be a really funny thing to do right before I got on for the pilot episode. And then it's like, the whole point is that I've retired from these. But then like researching them, there have been a few where it's like, I would take another crack at that maybe. It has been a while though. It's been a really long time since I've and we'll talk about this obviously when we get there. Because we're building up into like from this pilot episode with kind of things that don't work, or there's a reason why they are effective, to the reason why I quit as kind of like a finale episode. Because I got spooked at a certain point. There was a certain, I had like a rock bottom game where it's like, I don't know if I should be doing these anymore. But Yeah, but it's weird because like there's something broken in my brain because like learning about these makes me want to try them, and we're already kind of back
Yeah.
into that territory where today I was like, I shouldn't play Candyman right before I have this podcast. But it's
No,
insane to me that like out of all the things that one I just
that was
never
the
tried.
one. That is kind of surprising, especially because of how many you've said you've done and
Yeah,
how many I've never even like heard of.
there are a lot.
Yeah, there are a bunch. So, but yeah, like you said, we're gonna build up to the really big one. I think it's a smart idea to end
Oh,
this kind of mini series with like the wildest experience, or however
yeah.
you want to frame that. But yeah, so yes, you've got 6 on this. As like I said, 2 of them I've heard of, the rest of them I have not. So you just want to go in order. You're going in order based on how you sent them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. You want to start with the first one?
Yeah. Um, so the first one is Bloody Mary. This is the one I think everyone has done or heard
Yeah.
of or seen. This is the one that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
You as my co-host and you as the audience. Like
Yeah.
everybody knows this one.
Everybody
Uh,
knows this one. There's a supernatural episode. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, everywhere.
Big one. And and basically this is one of the more interesting ones. I think we could have made this one into a special, if we had really wanted to, like if we were diving deep for content, just because I've played the
Mhm.
most versions of this one. Out of like all of the ones, there are not a lot I've played multiple times, but Bloody
Yeah.
Mary was my introduction into like weird ghost games.
Yeah.
Um and I played it a lot because like there are a lot of local variants. Like you grow up as like a kid, and I'm sure you've heard like a different version than it, someone from like the next town or the next state
Right.
over. So this was one of those things. Like when I would move as a kid, I'd be like, okay, how do you summon Bloody Mary here? Can I do it? Like
Oh,
that was the intel when I would move. It would be like, how do you call ghosts here? But I never had it work. And this is what you say, depending on where you're at, like there are different specific rules. Some
hmm,
like there are versions where you light a candle. There are versions where you come in with a candle and blow the candle out. There are some where you play in pitch darkness. And
yeah.
then like the number of times that you say it changes, obviously. I feel like the most common is lights out, you say Bloody
Yeah.
Mary in front of the mirror 3 times.
Yeah.
Um, to see if a ghost will come out and grab you. Um, and there are a lot of like this is one of the most unanimous ones. There's like a lot of different theories about where this came from. Uh, the very popular one is that it's a tribute to Mary Worth. Uh, there's speculation that it's Mary Tudor, like Queen Mary,
Oh,
inspired this, but because she was also got the nickname Bloody Mary, so
I
there's a thing
see.
about
Yeah.
that. But this one never worked for me. It has a special place in my heart because it was the first one I ever played, but
Yeah.
I never got anything out of this
You're
other
still
than,
here. Nothing
I'm still
happened.
here. Uh, so it didn't get me, but
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
I've never done it. I mean, it's in like so many things, like so many movies, so many shows, so many like everyone has heard of this one.
oh,
I think anything with mirrors is just naturally creepy in general because, mirrors are just anything horror has ever done with mirrors has scared me. Like I don't like, like from, those shots in horror movies where like the person moves but like their reflection doesn't. Mm-mm.
yeah,
That's so scary. Like, and then there's like urban is it like there's like an urban legend about a mirror. I think it has to do with like, or maybe it's not quite an urban legend, but it's like where you look in the mirror long enough and you start to see that it's like not you looking back. And like there's
yeah,
just like a lot of story and things that revolve around mirrors and bathrooms. And but yeah, this one was like, yeah, I mean I'm glad nothing happened, I guess, but
yeah. I
because
it's the difference between adult cat and child cat, because like looking back it's like obviously I'm glad I'm still here. I was crushed as a kid Like, I don't know what it was. I was like, and this is how I got into games fundamentally, was because like I wanted nothing more as a child than to meet a ghost. Like that was
Yeah.
priority number one. And I would leave the bathroom, and everyone would be like, "You're so brave," and I'd be like, "I didn't meet a ghost." I'd
And
be
you're
like
like
crying.
disappointed.
My dreams
Uh,
would be crushed. But no, I'm glad nothing ever happened to me also, like, in retrospect. Um,
yeah.
one
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna move to the next one,
Yeah,
so if
I'm
you've
good.
got, like,
Yep.
so the next one that I have is, cat scratch, which I've also heard is, like, the scratch of the black cat and cat scratches, plural.
Mhm.
Um, we also used to call it I think when I played, we were calling it scratches, scratches, but I haven't heard it called that
Mhm.
anywhere else or for a long time. This one does work. This is one of those like parlor games that you play as a kid
Mhm.
um when it's spooky, like,
Yeah.
and it does work. It's a skill game. I think it's the only one of these on here that like it is kind of a game of skill, but you can succeed in doing this if you know what you're doing.
Mm.
This was the first one that like I was really good at it. So
Mhm.
I was seeing results, and that was always really cool. I got kicked out of a couple like slumber parties though. Like I was not supposed to be playing this anymore. There became a ban on scratches where I was not allowed to do this anymore. Um but but it's you sit down with like you can do it with a group. I
Mhm.
but you sit down with another person, they put their head in your lap, and you tell them a story, and you massage their temples, and
Mhm.
then at the end of the story a cat scratches them like very suddenly and abruptly, and when they sit up they have the scratches down their back. um I
Okay.
thought that I might be some kind of witch. Like when I was a kid, I was like, I'm a god at this. Scratches for everyone. I did also get accused of scratching a couple of my friends, like, 'cause I could see pretty consistent results with this, and
Huh.
I think I was still playing this when I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and that kind of freaked me out because it's like, it's a Freddy thing, but it's not a Freddy thing, it's a science thing. Um, there's a state in between being awake and being asleep called hypnagogia, where your autonomic reflexes respond to hallucinated stimuli. So basically what you're doing is you're lulling a person into a state of rest and then spooking them, and their body responds with temporary red marks where they allegedly got scratched. This is not not a ghost thing, but it is very widely believed, and I believed when I was a kid, that you could summon like a paranormal demon to attack your friends, I guess. I don't know. That's what it was. I don't know why we wanted that. But kids.
Huh. So, but it's all, but so do the red marks show up like in random places though, or is it usually just in one place?
It's usually in so that is it's usually on your back. I don't know how effective it would be like if you tried to and it's one of those things where, like, I was a dumb kid, I believed it's like, this is one of the rules is the cat has to scratch their back. I
Yeah.
think probably that's just one of the easiest because it's along the spine. There are so
Mhm.
many nerves there, I think that's probably there's some science reason, I'm sure, why that's where you're supposed to have the cat scratch a person.
Mhm.
I never tried anywhere else, but it is supposed to, and that's kind of the spooky part when you have someone play it on you, is
Mhm.
that like you feel the scratches, and then when you sit up, you're
They're
back in
there.
bed, and it's like I was scratched by something. Like it's a spooky one to play. And if you have any more gullible friends, I would still maybe try this. Like it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
This
I
one is
never heard of that one.
it's all we used to play this one with the because there's the like parachute thing, which isn't like a ghost game, but it's like you would push your friend, you would hallucinate, you tell your friend that they were like in a plane, and you would push them out to see what color the parachute game. It was a lot.
Oh, I remember that. And then the color is supposed to be like, yeah, I remember that. Okay, I
The
do know
color
that
was
one.
supposed to determine like some spooky thing or whatever. But yeah, this was along the same lines. Like it would be played in a lot of the same circles, and
It's like if you saw the color blue, then that meant you died in water. Like it was like
yeah.
different. Yeah, I remember that. That one I do know.
Yeah, this was very similar. I played it at like a lot of the same slumber parties. Of course, once I figured out how to play Scratches very well,
Mhm.
um, it, I started being the one to introduce it to other like
There was no
slumber party
stopping you.
things. There's no stopping me.
No, that one's
Uh,
cool. I hadn't heard. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one at all. Um, that's interesting though. I like that you called it like a parlor trick.
yeah, that's how I would describe a few of these is like
Yeah,
as parlor tricks because you can get results out of some of them
yeah,
if you want.
and not that it's not necessarily paranormal, but like you said, there's like a science reason. There's something you can do to make that happen, so that
Yeah.
it's not up to chance or fate. I hadn't heard of this next one either.
Uh, Charlie Charlie is our next one. It is the thing about Charlie Charlie, is that it's very easy to manipulate. Um, I trust the people. I think fundamentally, and I'm coming at this as someone that grew up with like kind of a witchy background.
Mhm.
Uh, I think fundamentally, if you're going to seriously play these games and not just scratch your friends, I think if you're going to like seriously play these, you have to be in spaces with people that you trust, like
That makes
wholeheartedly.
sense.
I think one of the reasons why I never had results with Charlie Charlie, which went viral in like 2016, 2017, right around
I've
there.
never even heard of it. Okay.
This was a huge deal to play this, and a
Wow.
lot of people were seeing results. There were
Mhm.
studies that were like parapsychological studies that were done into Charlie Charlie because like kids were freaking out about it, and it didn't last long, but it had a moment.
Mhm.
Um, and I think one of the reasons why I never had results with this, was because I play with people that would not manipulate the game, and I think maybe one of the reasons why people were getting such strong results,
Uh-huh.
this is probably the easiest ghost game to manipulate. So if you have one kid in a group that feels like playing a practical joke, like it only takes one, is
Right.
the
Okay.
thing. But it's very similar to a Ouija board pendulum situation. You
Okay.
balance you write out yes, yes, no, no on the corners of a sheet of paper.
Mhm.
You put one pencil vertically and one pencil horizontally and
Okay.
ask questions to Charlie, who will tilt the pencil, which is precariously balanced on top of another pencil, to yes or no. I have only played this with people that I implicitly trust. Hopefully, they also trusted me. No one ever touched that second pencil, and nothing. We never got any results from this one. I
Oh, okay.
I'm going to call this one busted, I think, in my personal, like, ghost busting experience. I don't have a lot of faith in Charlie Charlie, but it's fun.
So if it's just a matter of like somebody moving the pencil, how would you do that without being seen?
Um, this is something that I have tested, not in a Charlie Charlie game, but it usually if you're playing right, if everyone's, like, sitting far enough away and touching stuff, you can breathe too hard and move that
Because
pencil,
of the
like,
way that the
the
shapes are
way
that
that
are
it's
balanced on top of each
balanced.
other.
And because also the way that the board is, like, pulled out, it doesn't have to make it all the way in any direction to make it, like it's very easy to manipulate because any kind of twinge is either going to be going to a yes or no, as
Sure.
opposed to, like, a Ouija board where, like, it can move
It's
up and
just stick
down
to
in kind
2
of a
spaces.
way.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
It's just very easy. Or even if you bump the table or like, it's very, very easy to to kind of cheat your way out of Charlie Charlie.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one either. It wouldn't have mattered if I'd heard of it. I wouldn't have done it just because I'm not I'm just too like I want to do like I did like I want to do ghost hunting so badly. Like I would like kill to have the time, the money, the energy to like go do that, right? And the resources and like I went and did one and I was amazed at how brave I was because I won't touch stuff like this. Like I won't. Like I'm not trying to invoke nothing. I just it's such a like these things scare me so bad. Like I just too risky. I had somebody ask me one time, like we were talking about like experiences, feelings, things that have happened or whatever. And they were like, "Oh, like maybe you're sensitive." And I was like, "Don't say that. Do not say that.
Don't.
I rebuke it. Absolutely not. Do not say that. That is not true to anything that I can't see that's listening. That's not true. Like I don't say that. Don't put that out into the ether. Like no, hard.
See, it's the opposite for me, because like we talk on I do a horror movie podcast, and whenever we do like Paranormal Activity or Candyman being another good one, I have one co-host that's just like, "That's dumb white people shit. I'm not doing that. I'm not in this situation ever." And it's like I don't know. I would be curious, and he's like, "You're gonna die one day from this," and it's like, "Yeah, probably."
I made it through all
Probably I
these
am.
games. There's always like there's Mark from You Run Podcast always says that in like horror movies at the time that like everyone else would be leaving. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna look around." Like, no, like I don't have that in me. Like I have to like if I hear a noise downstairs, I have to remind myself that it could be somebody that like is like I have to like really break down. Like if I sit here and do nothing out of fear, something bad could happen. I've got to get up and go see what it is because otherwise I'm like, I don't want to know. It's better to just not know. I don't. No thanks. Hard pass.
Uh,
But yeah, your next one I have heard of, obviously from a very popular movie. And then Light as a Feather.
Yep. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Everyone puts. And again, this is one that locally it's different. I've played with
Oh,
just
okay.
index fingers.
Mhm.
Usually it's two fingers that you slide from each hand,
Yep.
underneath one person that is laying still on the floor, and you collectively as a group lift them up, chanting "Light as a feather, stiff as a board." I'm
Right.
assuming the movie is The Craft,
Yeah.
the very very famous scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one works. Can confirm this one works. This also is science, though. This is called an abnormal lift. Magicians have been using it in tricks for years. It's weight distribution. It's very basic physics. It is not hard to lift a person that way.
With a certain amount of people, I would assume, right? Because like
Yes.
I'm not very small, so it'd probably take, I feel like, more people, to do it versus like if you just have one person on each side, that's
If you have
obviously not going to work because there's, yeah,
Yeah, if you have enough people though, if you're at like a large enough slumber party, this one
which we
very
all
easy
do
to
in
do.
our 30s. We all still
Yeah.
have
I could see myself, like, at a bar, though, being like, "Everybody, get around."
You know what we should do right now?
But, yeah, if you get enough people together, this one just there's no magic here. It's kind of spooky, when the lights are out and you have candles lit and
It
everyone's
feels
chanting
like,
something,
yeah.
but
Yeah, it's like it creates an atmosphere, which is what makes these things, I think, like the spooky fun stuff anyway, because then you're just really into what's going on because of what you've created around you already.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So,
hmm, I have not, yeah, and the last two I haven't heard of, so I'll just let you lead.
uh, so my penultimate one, this is one of the very few I don't want to because as we go through the series, the thing about playing ghost games, and I wanted to get one in here that kind of touches on that early because it's going to be a recurring theme that we talk about on the show, is
Yeah.
that sometimes stuff does not go according to plan, and
Nope.
then you're stuck in a situation where you have this very specific list of rules, and
Mhm.
then you're in a scenario that's not covered by that list of rules, and then it's like
Oh,
what to do next.
yeah.
Um, So, I mean, like, outside of situations like that, there are not a lot of these games that I've just failed to do. Like,
Mhm.
you know, you can fail to summon something or whatever, and then the ritual hasn't really started or whatever.
Mm.
This is one that I started, and it we had mechanical malfunctions, and if I could play any one of these again, it would be this
Mhm.
one, but it was like pulling teeth getting someone to play this with me because you have to have at least 2 players,
Mhm.
and I don't and it took me so long to find someone that was willing to do this, that the chances of doing it again, I just don't think are super high, but I would love to revisit this one, um,
Mhm.
even though it's a logistical nightmare. I listed this as 100 Candles because that's what it was called. That was the version that I played. I've also seen it called 100 Ghost Stories. It actually originally was called Hayaku Monogatari Karenkai, which is Japanese. It translates, I think, loosely to like the collection of 100 spirits.
Okay.
But it is, and basically the way that this works is you start with 100 candles lit in a room, you and the other players sitting in the center of them, and you tell one ghost story at a time, blowing out one candle upon completion. And by the time you get to the end of the stories and the end of the candles, you're supposed to be sitting alone in complete darkness with the gateway to the other world open. Um,
Mhm.
this is, and again, it's just a logistical nightmare. That's a
Yeah, I'm
hundred
thinking like
different ghost
100 candles, it'd
stories.
take you like 45 minutes to an hour just to light them all.
Yes, and the mechanical issue that we play, because we lost a couple candles, like, by the time well, we got all the candles lit, my ex and I my poor ex, subjected him to all kinds of stuff, he but we were and it was one of those things because he like, finding a candidate 100 ghost stories, if you only play this with one other person, you have to both be aware of 50 different ghost stories and not overlap at all. So it was
Yeah.
like finding someone that had the attention span and the interest and the amount of ghost stories to play this
Mhm.
with was just it was a nightmare logistically. We got the candles lit. We were sitting in the dark. We had candles that were starting to burn out by the time we got to I think we made it to, like, 60 something. We were in, like, the low 60s, and we were, like,
Yeah.
losing candles left and right,
Yeah.
and it was getting dark very quickly, and, like, he was just like, "I'm out. I'm tapping out, like, I'm done." It's like, "No." He's like but I love the concept of this one, you know? It
Yeah.
like, it's very intimate, it's very spooky, um, but I and it does happen sometimes when you play ghost games, is sometimes, like, there are just it's harder than you think it's going to be, and sometimes you do just fail.
Yeah. I was thinking as you were talking about, I'm like 100, that is a lot
It's a
logistically
lot.
to get them lit, to keep them lit for the duration. Because
Yeah.
unless they're all like 2 sentence horror story or scary stories, like I mean, you gotta like it's gonna take time to get through them. And I don't know 100. Well, I don't know. I guess if you did with 2 people, you'd split it and do 50-50. But I don't know 50. I mean, I'd probably pick all the ones that like you would already know. And so yeah, that's a lot to like prepare for. Hmm.
It's yeah, it's a lot,
Yeah.
but, it's the one that keeps me up at night also, like, I would I would love to play this one sometime officially because it's like I love just the ambiance of this game, and it's
Yeah.
honestly, there are a lot of games, there are, like, a lot of rituals where it's like you have
Mhm.
to wait until this time, and then, you go through all these complex steps, and those aren't things that are fun when they don't work. Like, this one is
Sure.
basically just telling ghost stories, which is fun no matter what.
Mm,
Like, which is
that's
kind of an
true.
added perk that a lot of these don't have. But
Yeah. That's probably the longest you think?
yeah, probably.
Just I mean, again, with how much you have to do and stuff to get to
In terms of like, I would say, yeah, in terms of prep and stuff,
the
that's probably the longest.
execution.
Uh,
Yeah.
the bath game, the bath game, you actually play over 24 hours. So that one might technically be longer, but it's not got the like complex setup. And also you
Sure.
don't spend as much time actively participating, I think is probably the way, but yeah, there are not a lot that are this labor intensive.
Yeah.
Actually, the one other one that is this labor intensive is Three Kings, which just requires like a lot of prep time, and that was another one that it was like no one was interested in doing that with me. I never got to play Three Kings.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then, sometimes you'll be reading these and it'll be like, get an antique mirror and a lock of your grandmother's hair, and you're like, what? I'm getting what now? Like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't yeah, I actually do have like a legitimate fear of the dark. I sleep with I have like night lights. So I couldn't do any of the ones that left me like Oliver will like turn the lights off and close doors sometimes. And I'm like, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Like, I need you to fix it. Like, and I've always had it. And it's something that like he'll come in my room and he'll be like, why are there all the lights on? I'm like, I need them to sleep. Duh. Like, so I couldn't do any of the ones where I had to be in like dark. Just it would never happen.
No 100 candles for you.
No. I could do the beginning, but once they started to go, I'd be like, I gotta go. I can't. We can do this from the phone when I'm at home with all of the lights in my house on. Yeah. Well, that leads us with your last one for our introduction episode.
So our last game that I've chosen for this is Sarah Sarita, and it is the only one that I might technically have succeeded. This is another common theme. It's one reason why I wanted to get it in here is because there are a lot of these rituals that, if done correctly, you don't know if you've done them correctly or not, which Sarah Sarita is very much like that. It is
Yeah.
another the legend, I believe this one comes from Mexico. This is a Mexican legend.
Mm-hmm.
Um of two twins that had matching coin necklaces, and they ultimately get murdered. Like, they are left in the school late for an event, and the creepy janitor is there and kills both of the twins. And then their spirits can inhabit coins. So you play with another person. You
Mm-hmm.
sit on the floor and ask the ghosts, the ghost twins, if you are able to communicate with them. And each of you holds a coin and flips it over your back. If both, and and from this point, it really is very similar to a lot of other communication games. There's a cue for yes and a cue for no, a cue for
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
Yeah.
And so I believe heads is yes, tails is no, one of each is maybe. You throw them behind your shoulder in between each question to see what kind of answer you can get. The game starts when you get 2 yeses from the "can we enter" response. I did actually have, and just this has to happen sometimes, laws of odds, bunch of
Probability.
people
Yeah.
playing this game all over the world. Uh, when I played this, we got an immediate yes to enter the game. And and then you ask questions of the twins and you get like a yes, no, or maybe, which is very non-conclusive. It did take us not a lot of tries to get I think it took us like 5 or 6 tries to get a yes, we are allowed to leave the circle response. What trips a lot of people up on this one, and what has caused a lot of psychological damage, allegedly, to Mexican children, is that if you do not get a double positive response, you are not allowed to leave the circle. So kids that have run out of like time in the sleepover, or had a friend get angry or bored or quit, allegedly are haunted for the rest of their lives by two Mexican twins.
Oh
Uh,
no.
that because they left the circle without permission. I did get a positive response. I was allowed to leave the circle. I am safe. But I also did not have anything. When you're playing with yes, no, or maybe,
Mm-hmm.
until weird shit starts doing it, and that's the thing with ghost games. If you play them right, there are supposed to be no lasting consequences, and you can get away scot-free. And that is an energy with some of these where it's like, we can assume I played them right because I'm still here.
Because you're
um
fine. Yeah.
but this was one of the more anticlimactic ones like that, where it's like everything went according to plan, and I'm here and it's been fine. But you do and we'll get into this like later in the series with things where it did not go according to plan.
Mhm.
And then you spend the rest of your life wondering, you're like, is that because of all these ghosts that I summoned? We don't know. Maybe. There's just that lingering doubt that kind of stays with you. That's unsettling. But this was not one of those for me. This was just
Yeah.
like a fun. This was a fun time.
Yeah, I think that's like the reason I've never wanted to even try them is the possibility of something lingering after, like,
Yeah.
and not being able to like get rid of it or, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm sure like, I think I say this and people are gonna be like, not true. I think we are all in agreement on some level that like Ghost Adventures is just a shame, just for entertainment purposes, right? But
Yeah.
there's like times when they do things and I'm like, this is going to be the time that something really bad is going to happen to you because you did all of this really disrespectful shit and you said all these things. And I'm just like, I don't want any part of that. Like, I don't want nothing will ever have a reason to bother me. Like, never,
Yeah.
never. And that's why I'm like, I would be scared I'd do something wrong or something would actually happen, but then it wouldn't go away or like,
Yeah. That's the fear. That's the danger of these things. And eh, I feel like you have a very rational response to that. Because that's it's that horror movie thing. It's like just don't play with it. Like
yeah, just don't do the thing. Don't read from
nothing
the
could go
book.
wrong if
Don't,
you don't
yeah.
do I'm very much a read from the book kind of person. I know it one day it's going to be the death of me. But I can see our shirts already for this one. We're gonna get like curiosity killed cat t-shirts, but like I
That's
just
good.
I've got to know about stuff, and and ghost games are one. But the danger of it is that like even if you only kind of believe in this stuff,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
it really only does take one going wrong, and it's like if you're playing like ghost Russian roulette, how many times do you want to do that? None
Yeah.
is the correct answer. Like you don't want to risk bringing something into your house that like you don't know how to get rid of.
Yeah, the first place I ever lived, like on my own when I moved out from my parents, I had a roommate that was like just didn't care about life. And she like always wanted to do stuff like that and push those boundaries. And I remember like one year on Halloween, I asked her if like they were like she and her friend was like a mutual friend. I was like, "Are y'all gonna do anything?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're thinking about doing like a Ouija board." I said, "Not where I live, you're not. You better find somewhere else to do that shit. You better not do it in the house. I swear to God, I won't ever pay rent again. You better not." Like I was like, I don't want to hear nothing about you. Better not. Like, I will move out. I will go back and live with my parents. I was like, you better not do that shit where I sleep at night where I live. And they didn't. They ended up going to like, like you do, a graveyard, and that was like their fun time or whatever for Halloween. And she's still alive, so I guess it's fine. But like, too risky for me. The chances are not great, and I don't have the best of luck. So nope, hard pass.
That's smart. And that's like it's kind of a thing because I think growing up, this was kind of one of those there's something wrong with cat distinctions in my childhood because I think a lot of people that were like really eager to play these kinds of games with me when I was a kid did
Mhm.
not believe in the supernatural at all, and it was like let's show off how brave we were. I think I was like the only person that like fully believed it's like, no, we can get a ghost in here. Let's do it. Like
No,
I
like
want
I
to
can
see
do it.
those ghosts. And it was something, because my mom being a witchy person,
Mhm.
was very much like she doesn't know where she went wrong with me, because she tried very hard to instill in me like a don't play with stuff you don't understand cosmically thing, and I was just like, I've got to see a
You were just
ghost
like
you don't
absent.
understand.
You were absent that day. You're
I
like,
was. It's just gone. That message didn't make its way through.
oh my God, that's so funny. I think people who know you though, or who interact with you on pretty much any level are not going to be surprised by any of that.
Oh no, it's very. This was an early indicator that I was gonna grow up to be this.
Yeah, well, yeah, those, like I said, I'd only heard of 2 of the 6. And I've only heard of a couple of the other ones that I know we're going to talk about eventually. So I'm excited. I'm fascinated by these because, like I said, I've never had the courage to do any of them. So I will live vicariously through your experiences and what you were crazy and put yourself through. But yeah, so that's going to be our introduction episode to horror games in real life. Still gaming, just on a different level.
Just the kind we don't recommend.
Yeah, at least Angel. Angel highly is like, don't do it. Cat's like, I'll do it with you.
Yeah, don't do it. But if you're there, invite me.
I would like to be a part of it. Yeah, so we'll continue doing this series for a few months. So we will be back in February with another episode of Horror Games in Real Life. So if you have not watched any of the video game adaptations, we've covered some really fun ones, including one of my favorite episodes I think we did, which was Five Nights at Freddy's. We did Willie's as a precursor to that. We've covered Blood Rain. What was the other really funny one that the other like
House of the Dead.
House of the Dead. We did The Last of Us. The Tension was another really great episode. So there's a playlist. Maybe I'll remember. If I can remember, I'll put it in the cloud or I'll link it below. But if you want to check those out. And yeah, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Yeah, we'll be back with some more crazy shit that Kat did when she was slightly younger. See you next time. Also, in case you missed it in the previous video, make sure that you go check out this awesome YouTube channel called Video Tasties. The slogan is protecting the past one VHS tape at a time. These guys do a lot of media stuff. 80s list, top list, physical media, collaborations, anything movie, film related, you can find there. There's some awesome, like tons of stuff for you to check out on their channel. I'll make sure to link them in the description for this episode.